Welcome to Design Standup, episode 14, How to Design Emotional Interfaces for Boring Apps, part 1, by Kotlyarenko of Smashing Magazine. And I'm your host, Ryan Stone, reading to you every Tuesday and Thursday from the best blogs in the design industry, with their permission, of course. It's kind of like a free ongoing audiobook, always being updated with new content from your favorite designers. Whether you are a seasoned design professional or simply a design enthusiast, I am on a mission to help grow your knowledge in all things digital design. In today's post, Alice of Smashing highlights how companies like Google, Yelp, Slack, and others are creatively injecting delight and joy into their apps, and why that matters. You'll want to make sure to catch part 2 of this article in our next episode. So without further ado, let's stand up. How to Design Emotional Interfaces for Boring Apps, Part 1, by Alice Kotlyarenko of Smashing Magazine. There's a trickling line of ones and zeros that disappears behind a large yellow tube. A bear pops out of the tube as a clawed paw starts pointing at my browser's toolbar, and a headline appears saying, "Start your browsing." Between my awing and oohing, I forgot that I even wanted to browse. Products like a VPN service rarely evoke endearment, or any other emotion for that matter. It's not their job, not what they're built to do. But because TunnelBear does, I choose it over any other VPN and recommend it to all my friends, so they can have some laughs while caught up in routine. Humans can't endure boredom for a long time, which is why products that are built for non-exciting, repetitive tasks so often get abandoned and gather dust on computers and phones. But boredom, according to psychologists, is merely a lack of stimulation, the unfilled desire for satisfying activity. So what if we use the interface to give them that stimulation? I sat with product designers here at MacPaw who spend their waking hours designing not-so-sexy things like duplicate finders and encryption apps, and they shared 5 secrets to more emotional UIs: gamification, humor, animation, illustration, and mascots. Games people play. There's some debate going on around the use of gamification in UIs. 24 empirical studies, for example, arrived at varying conclusions as to how effective it was. But then again, effectiveness depends on what you are trying to accomplish by designing those shiny achievement badges. For many product creators, the point of gamification is not letting users have fun per se, it's gently pushing them towards certain behaviors via said fun. Achievements, ranks, and leaderboards tap into the basic human need of esteem, trigger competitiveness, and supposedly urge users to do what you want them to, like make progress, keep coming back to the app, or share it on social media. Gamification can succeed or fail at that, but what it sure achieves is an emotional response. Our brain is packed full of cells that control the levels of dopamine, one of the major neurochemicals of happiness. When something enjoyable happens, those neurons light up and trigger a release of dopamine into the blood. But what's even better, if this pleasant event is regular and can be predicted, they'll light up and release dopamine before it even happens. What does that mean for your interface? That expecting an enjoyable thing such as the next achievement will give the users little shots of happiness throughout their experience with the product. Gamification and UI, Gemini 2 and Duolingo. When designing Gemini 2, the new version of our duplicate finder for Mac, we had a serious problem at hand. Reviewing gigabytes of files was so crushingly boring, and some users complained they quit before they even were done. So what we tried to achieve with the achievement system is intensify the feeling of a crossed-out item on a to-do list, which is the only upside of tedious tasks. The space theme, unwittingly set with the app's name and exploited in the interface, was perfect for gamification. Our audience grew up on Star Wars and Star Trek, so sci-fi-inspired ranks would hit home with them. Within days of the release, we started getting tweets from users asking for clues on the Easter egg that would unlock the final achievement. A year after our release, Gemini 2 got the Red Dot Award for a design that exhibits clarity and emotion. So while it's hard to measure how motivating our achievement system has been, it sure didn't leave people cold. Another product that got it right, and has by far the most gamified interface I've ever seen, is Duolingo, an online service and mobile app for learning languages. Trying to master a foreign tongue from scratch is daunting, especially if it's just you and your laptop without the reassurance that comes from having a teacher. Given how quickly people lose interest in their language endeavors, speaking from experience here, Duolingo would have to go out of its way to keep you hooked. And it does. Whenever you complete a quick 5-minute lesson, you earn 10 points. Take lessons 30 days in a row, get an achievement. Complete 20 lessons without a single typo, unlock another. For every baby step you take, your senses are rewarded with triumphant sounds and colorful graphics that trigger the release of that sweet, sweet dopamine. Eventually, you start associating Duolingo with the feeling of accomplishment and pride, the kind of feeling you want to come back to. If you'd like to dive deeper into gamification, Gabe Zickerman's book, Gamification by Design, Implementing Game Mechanics in Web and Mobile Apps, is a great way to start. You've got to be joking. Victor Yoko has made a solid case for using humor in web design as a tool to create memorable experiences, connect with users, and make your work stand out. But the biggest power of jokes is that they're emotional. While we still don't fully understand the nature of humor, one thing is clear: it makes humans happy. According to brain imaging research, funny cartoons activate the reward network in the limbic system, the same network that responds to eating, music, sex, and mood-altering drugs. In other words, a good joke gives people a kind of emotional high. Would you want that kind of reaction to your interface? Of course. But the tricky part is not only is humor subjective, but the way we respond to it depends a lot on the context. One thing is throwing in a pun on the launch screen. A completely different is goofing around in an error message. And while all humans enjoy humor in this or that format, it's vital to know your audience, what they find hilarious, and what might seem inappropriate, crude, or poorly timed. Not that different from cracking jokes in real life. Humor in UI, authentic weather, and Slack. One app that nails the use of humor, and not just as a complimentary comic relief, but as a unique selling proposition, is Authentic Weather. Weather apps are a prime example of utilitarian products. They are something people use to get information, period. But with Authentic Weather, you get a lot more than that. No matter the weather, it's going to crack you up with a snarky comment like, "It's freaking freezing. Go home, winter." And my personal favorite, "It's just okay. Look outside for more information." What happens when you use Authentic Weather is you don't just open it for the forecast, you want to see what it comes up with next. And a routine task like checking the weather becomes a thing to look forward to in the morning. Now, the app's moody commentary, packed full of F-words and scorn, would probably seem less entertaining to my mom. But being the grumpy millennial that I am, I find it hilarious, which proves humor works if you know your audience. Another interface that puts fun to good use is Slack's. For an app people associate with work emergencies, Slack does a solid job creating a more humane experience, not least because of its one-liners. From loading screens to the moments you're finally caught up with all your chats, it cracks a joke when you don't see it coming. With such a diverse demographic, humor is a hit and miss, so Slack plays safe with goofy puns and good-natured banter. The kind of jokes that don't exactly send you rolling on the floor, but don't annoy or offend either. In the best case scenario, the user will chuckle and share the screenshot in one of their channels. In the worst case scenario, they'll just roll their eyes. Get the world moving. Hear that? In part 2. You just listened to the post titled, "How to Design Emotional Interfaces for Boring Apps, Part 1, by Kotlyaren of Smashing Magazine. If you want to learn more about Elise and read some of her other amazing articles on design, just press the link in the show notes or head over to Smashing Magazine at smashingmagazine.com. Oh, and before you go, don't forget to check out the brand new Design Stand-Up group on LinkedIn, where you can connect and learn from designers across the globe, chat about the latest episodes, and much more. You can find a link in the show notes or just search Design Stand-Up on LinkedIn's website or app. Well, that's all I have for you today, guys. It's been a pleasure. Until next time, fill up those coffees, turn up those tunes, and let's design a better world.